I remember my first act of violence and I felt good.
شو حسيت أول مرة حملت فيها البارودة؟ كنت مبسوط. شايف حالي إنه أنا حامل بارودة يعني ما حدا قدي.
मुमकिन है अमलन वो हुई हो मगर मैं कभी as violent extremist नहीं रहा हूँ मेरा ये ख्याल है
Well, my first act of violence, I was proud of myself. I didn't feel no regret.
जब हमको देखते जब हम आपस में लड़ते एक दूसरे को खून बात आए तो बाहर दुनिया खौफ होना चाहिए कि वो खौफ में रहे.
Can I not answer this question because it is related with what I'm hiding?
Well, I can't really talk about that. That's kind of stuff that you really don't express on camera, you know, because that's like, we have a code.
We happened to turn down the street and a car head-on just shot at us 9 times from close range. I wanted revenge, real bad.
The reality is that I'd rather shoot someone than get shot.
Yeah, I was very afraid of my father. He has a temper, he was abusive. I didn't like my childhood.
All my family's gang affiliated. I guess I just chose to try to follow in footsteps. They just told me, you're gonna end up dead one of these days.
You know, a gang is just a certain group of individuals that all have the same ideas and beliefs.
Here at Homeboy Industries, we're a nonprofit organization, and Father Greg is our executive director and also founder of Homeboy Industries. A big number of the people that come in through our doors are ex-cons, felons, ex-gang members with tattoos all over their face, their neck, which makes it extra hard for them to get employed. So what we're trying to do with building that friendly relationship is asking these employers to give these people second and third chances, you know, so that we can break that cycle of homies being in jail, coming back out, and then going right back in there, you know?
I've buried 165 young people killed because of gang violence. And so we started to do things, a school, now we have 5 businesses, tattoo removal, mental health counseling, and this is the largest gang intervention program in the country, probably the world, I guess. You know, jobs do about 85% of what needs to be done. It gives the kid a reason to get up in the morning, but more importantly, a reason not to gangbang the night before. People might be surprised to know that if I hire one guy from this gang, I'm going to get 9 phone calls the next day from kids from the same gang. Why? Because 95% of all gang members want what all these folks have, a job. They want to feel good about themselves, and a job does that.
My name is Hector Verdugo, born and raised in Boyle Heights, Ramona Gardens Projects. A week before we were born, our father had died from heroin. You know, people would say it's rough, and yeah, I agree with you now, you know? But when you're growing up, you don't know it's rough. It just is. You know, even the term gang members is like, that's like later on. These are just all my uncles and all my aunts, you know? It'd been the same thing, I feel, if it was police officers. I would want to be that cop. I would want to be that doctor or whatever. It just so happens that my surroundings were gangsters, and I just so want to be a part of that too.
My name is Janelle Masvidal. I'm 30 years old and I grew up in LA. When I was growing up, my parents were drug dealers. They never paid attention to me or to my brothers and sisters. I think the turning point was when I was gonna join a gang. Like, I didn't have nothing better. I didn't have nothing at home. No love, no nothing.
when I was starting to bury kids, I would always go talk to the kid who was sort of off by himself, crying, thinking he's vulnerable. So he's just come through the church and he's just viewed his dead homie in the casket, and then he goes outside. You know, I go up to him and I always used to say the same thing. I used to say, I never want to see you lying in a casket at 15 or whatever the kid's age is. I expected them to say, yeah, damn, that makes two of us. I don't want to die. That's what I expected. I've never gotten that response. Never, not once, not close, not ever. And the part that's so eerie for me is that it's always the same exact response. They always say, you gotta die sometime.
My name is Vance Webster, born and raised in South Central Los Angeles. The very first time I seen my stepfather hit my mother, it was a shock to all of us. He slapped her so hard that he knocked her on the ground, and it was so loud we felt it. The abuse went on until I stopped it.
But homies come here with a disorganized attachment, where mom is frightened or frightening, and you can't really calm yourself down if you've never been soothed. And so that's what this place does. It's therapeutic and it heals. You always tell the homies, the day won't ever come when I withdraw love or support or care. That won't ever come. You know, I think a lot of us have had experience with parents who felt that way, and most homies don't.
The more we could do, the more damage we could do, the better it was for us.
What the body count look like? What have you guys done? You're in a battle zone. You don't think about how the next person or your adversaries feel. You think about what's right for you. And in that moment, this felt right to me. I didn't care about what they felt.
Gangbanging is just as addicting as a drug. It starts becoming your passion. You love this power, you love this adrenaline, you love the feeling of people fearing you, and it's fun.
So the psychological profile of any kid that joins a gang are deeply despondent, severely traumatized, or mentally ill. How do we heal damage at an early age? How do we intervene and rescue people from trauma, kids? And how do we deliver mental health services to kids who need them?
One day I was out riding my bikes with my friends. I came home and everybody was in the house crying. My stepfather had beat my mother real bad, beat her with his fist and stumped her all in her face. And he threw her in front of a car. And then I got on my bicycle and I went looking for him. My intentions were to let him know that he would no longer put his hands on my mother, that he had to leave that house. He would never come back to the house again. He started cussing at me as soon as I drove up. And I said, I went to the hospital and seen what you did to my mother. Did you see it? And he started calling me all kind of names, cussing me out. And I told him, I packed up all your stuff and you're not coming back to our house no more. He took this brown bottle and he threw it at me. And that's when I pulled out the gun. And when I put out the gun, he really got to cussing me out. And I remember when he took that first step towards me, I remember all I heard was just a loud noise, pow, a shot. That first shot was complete fear because I already knew the damage he would do to me. And when he grabbed his stomach, he said, man, I'm gonna kill you, you SOB. The second shot, I knew exactly what I was doing. And that's when he hit the ground. The third shot, I went over him and I just shot him while he was on the ground. I knew what my intent was, and that was to kill him because I got tired of him beating my mother. I remember getting on my bicycle and going back home, telling my sister and brothers what I just done, and waiting on the police because I know they was coming.
The police is coming to take my brother Vance away, and he's only 12 years old.
And they came about 2 hours later, and they told me they was gonna take me down to the police station and talk to me. They wanted to give me probation, and the judge wasn't having it. The district attorney wasn't having it.
I was taught to be strong, but I was scared. I was very scared.
What made me even more bitter was the fact that she had moved him back in. Now she's putting us, this dude, over us, and that bitterness just set in more and more and more. She dropped a bombshell on me because she told me that I had to move with my grandparents then when I got out. And I remember looked at her and I was just hurt because to me that was the ultimate betrayal. She made her choice.
Hopeful kids don't join gangs. So gangs are the places kids go when they've encountered their life as a misery, and misery loves company. No kid is seeking anything when he joins a gang. He's always fleeing something, always. Even if on the surface you go, I don't see what it might be, well, it's just because you can't see it.
I literally lived in a crack house, and I'd go to the church and say, like, I'm tired. I know you guys are a church, and can you take me in? I'll go to a Christian home. Make me Christian. I don't care. I'm tired. And they were like, nope, you're too young. You then. You know what I mean? Like, you motherfuckers. You know what I mean? Like, I'm doing everything that I can to change. I'm tired, you know?
They looked up to it. They thought it was the greatest. Guys would get out of prison and talk about, the glory they faced, the fights, the name of the neighborhood, and they glorified that lifestyle.
Well, when I went in there, I knew one thing, that they didn't care about what you did on the outside. You had to make a name for yourself on the inside. I picked up a knife and jumped in the crowd and started stabbing, started fighting, whatever it took.
When I was in juvenile hall at 12 years old, I liked being there, I guess, because of the other girls that were like me. So I felt like I belonged there, you know, because I didn't have nothing to go to. So I got in so many fights that I didn't get out till 3 years later.
You know, normally you want to go to college, like Cal State or, USC or something. They were looking forward to going to like Folsom or Soledad prison.
Guy says, hey, man, let me talk to you real quick. I'm like, what's up, man? He goes, hey, you can't kick it with us no more. And I remember thinking, this fool, man. How's he gonna disrespect me like this, you know? I was hurt, I was mad. And I was like, man, you. And I remember my homeboy, like, looking back at me, and he had no idea what just happened. He's like, what's up, fool? Guy, come on. And I remember sitting right there next to him and with all the rest of my people, and then we just start cutting it up. But then right there was a turning point in my life that I said, everybody. We're all Ramona Gardens, and they'll accept me no matter what, you know? All I had to show was loyalty and a certain amount of violence, and I get an A. From that point on, I just said, it's all about my neighborhood.
Why is territory so important in gangs? Because then why be in a gang if it's not gonna be important to you? Like, you're gonna defend it and do anything for your neighborhood, because that's what you're representing.
Gangs here is you fight for for the projects or for a street corner or for a couple blocks. You're fighting for an area that doesn't even really belong to you anyways. So it doesn't really mean nothing. But as a kid that doesn't have nothing and is looking for something for purpose for their life, it seems valuable.
At the age of 18, they sentenced me to 25 years to life in prison. And I didn't know what it meant then. Being in prison, you get tired of being tired. And I remember my mother, she told Father Gregory Boyle my story. So we started corresponding. One of the things he said was, I have to believe in me. In order for him to help me, I have to believe in me. I have to believe in myself.
We don't outreach, they have to come here. Because it's the same like recovery. No amount of me wanting that guy to have a life is the same as that guy wanting to have one. The minute he wants it, then it works. It's always about reteaching a thing its loveliness, because you're always trying to return people to themselves and say, here's the truth of who you are, especially at a time when people are so prone to beat themselves up, think that they are their rap sheets. And instead, you want to say, no. Here's the loveliness. Here's the mirror. Here's your essence.
They told me that I would never get out, that I would die in prison of old age, that my bunk would become my casket. After 8 trials, it was my 7th hearing, and I got denied again, and I was like, wow, I ain't never going home. Next year when I went to the parole board, I went in there, and as they was commending me for the change that I've made, I would thank God. Well, I want to thank God because God allowed this for me to change. My attorney thought I was going to get denied. And he said, man, you messed up again, man. And so I said, okay, I'm used to it. The lady said that, Mr. Webster, today's your lucky day. She said, you're going home. I said, I can tell you everything about how to survive in prison, but I can't even tell you how to pay rent, how to pay bills. And I want that chance. My mother's getting old. Family members are passing away. I want to have that chance to go back out there and live life. And she said, Mr. Webster, what do you think home is at? I said, 3 building, 4th tier, cell 24. And I seen her grab her face and said, oh my gosh. And finally she said, Mr. Webster, that was never your home. This has never been your home. You know, this has only been a temporary stay.
My mother was looking forward to Vance coming home. He was still her little boy. Vance, instead of coming home to a reunion, he had to come home to burying my mom.
Nothing meant nothing at that moment. Nothing meant nothing. And where I found peace at was when I wrote that letter, the last letter to my very beautiful mother I wrote, what I was gonna do when I got out. You know, that never again will I go back to prison. I will always continue to follow God's path as she wanted me to. I know I'm making her proud.
The judicial system took a lot of years for me. If I can go back, I would correct everything I've done just to make everything right now. But that ain't gonna happen. So all I can do is just live life now and respect life and appreciate it and move forward and try to get ahead and try to be somebody, but in a good way.
You know, this whole thing is over the minute you decide. You also want people to feel powerful, that's in their power to decide. Now, the recent kid I buried, number 169, Irvin Panameno, he had decided. And he became that truth and inhabited that truth 8 months before he died, fully, completely. And the person or people who shot him and killed him, they hadn't decided. And they remembered his past, I suppose.
He's a wonder in my soul. He's a wonder.
They don't focus on why they joined the gang, they focus on what they was running from, which make homeboy injuries so remarkable.
Come on over here, dog. This is made for us. You go out there, you're gonna be stuck somewhere. Come and let all this stuff, let us take away all this stuff. Let us take away all this stuff in here.
They were the only ones that will give me a chance to try to change my life and to recover and to do the right things.
Like any good parent, you want to force your kid to walk through the door marked health. You don't want to say, well, either door is fine. No, that door, I'll help you if you walk through that door. But if you're going to walk through the door marked self-destruction, I'm not going to help you with that one. You're on your own on that one.
Without that man, there's a lot of people who wouldn't believe in themselves or wouldn't believe in, they would stay stuck in that pit of drugs and gangs and prison.
He's a very loved person, especially by me. He's never turned his back against me.
The sustenance of the first attachment comes from sort of a sense of psychology. That's what you get from a parental embrace, you know, and that a sense of amai, which was the Japanese call a sense of being cherished. So if you don't have that, that has consequences on the life that you navigate after that. This isn't about words, it's about action. And you want to imitate the kind of God you believe in. You know, you don't want to just talk about God.
It's a healthy environment. It's a positive environment. And I remember just before our Christmas break last year, Father G called me in the office and he said, Vance, he said, I want to tell you something, my son. He said, I got a lot of gifts. I got a lot of blessings in 2009. I said, well, you need them, G. You deserve it. He said, my son, you was my biggest blessings of all. And I remember started crying. I said, G, you can't do this, I'm security.
I'm sorry. I've been burning the candle at both ends, and I got to bed late last night. I gotta go do a funeral. What was the question?
لیکن بدقسمتی سے یہ اسلام میں اس کی کہیں اجازت نہیں ہے.
Why should a child say yes, why not no to militancy?
My name is Azhar Hussain. I'm a senior vice president for International Center for Religion Diplomacy. I was born in Pakistan, grew up in Karachi, and I knew the issues of religious institutions in Pakistan generally. I was interested in Pakistani madrasas because I think when you have 2 to 3 million students going to a separate school system, which is separated from society. Madrasa have 1300 years of history, and they have progressively become a lot more isolated and alienated from their own societies. And then they are taught a certain ideology that not to trust the other or differences. They don't trust their own society, their own government, and in extension, they don't trust the international community.
میرا نام محمد ایوب ہے. یہ جب رشیا نے افغانستان پر وار کیا تو میرے خیال سے زیادہ اس علاقے کے ملاکن ڈویژن کے لوگوں نے اس میں بہت چڑھ کر حصہ لیا، اور یہاں سے کافی دستے جا رہے تھے، خاص کر نوجوان طبقہ اور عام خود. پارٹی سب کو الگ رکھ کے اس جہاد میں حصہ زور شور سے لیا ہوا تھا.
میرا نام خواجہ شجاع عباس ہے. میری پیدائش اور پرورش مقبوضہ کشمیر سری نگر کی ہے. ٹھیک ہے، یعنی کوئی بھی اگر مجاہد ہوتا تھا اس وقت، یا ملیٹنٹ کہتے تھے یا بندوق بردار، اس کی بڑی عزت اور بڑا احترام ہوتا تھا لوگوں کے دلوں میں، لوگ اس کو محبوب رکھتے تھے. اچانک وہاں پر کچھ نوجوان ظاہر ہو گئے جنہوں نے بندوق اٹھائی اور ہندوستان کے خلاف انہوں نے مسلح مزاحمت شروع کی. میں بھی عام کشمیری مسلمانوں کی طرح اس حوالے سے بڑے خوش تھے. تو ہم یہ سوچ رہے تھے شاید یہ سبب بن جائے ہماری آزادی کا، اور جو ہمارے ارمان ہیں وہ پورے ہو جائیں. تو میں بھی اس کا پرجوش حامی تھا، اور یہ اس میں تصور ہی نہیں تھا کہ بھئی ہم نے کوئی بے گناہوں کو مارنا ہے یا بازاروں میں بم دھماکے کرنے ہیں.
I think there are many links to madrasas and extremism, especially violent extremism. When we teach children in madrasas to think about the other as enemies, the West especially, and the other religions as your enemies, and that Islam is under threat, somehow his whole identity is under threat.
تو یہ بعد میں چونکہ ایک افغانستان میں جو روس کے خلاف ریزسٹنس ہوئی تھی، وہاں پر ایک عجیب قسم کا مائنڈ سیٹ پیدا ہوا تھا جن کو آج کل جہادسٹ کہتے ہیں. وہ ان کا عجیب و غریب ایک تصور ہے اسلام کا بھی، مقصد کو حاصل کرنے کے لیے جو کچھ بھی کر گزرنے کو جائز سمجھتے ہیں.
لیکن جب وہ رفتہ وہ لوگ انہوں نے آواز اٹھایا تو لوگوں نے زور شور سے اس کا ساتھ دیا. کسی نے اس وجہ سے ساتھ دیا کہ بھائی اگر میں ساتھ نہیں دیتا ہوں تو یہ لوگ معاشرے میں ہمارے مطابق کیا سوچیں گے کہ یار انہیں حفاظ شریعت نہیں چاہتا، یہ کافر ہے. تو کسی کا دل تایا نہیں تھا تو ان کا ساتھ دیا. ان لوگوں نے بھی موقع سے پیدا اٹھایا. حالات تیزی سے خراب اسی لیے ہوئے کہ جو یہاں پر ہمارے علاقے میں آس پاس جتنی بھی کار لیفٹ تھے، چور تھے، ڈاکو تھے، قاتل تھے، انہوں نے گورنمنٹ سے بھاگ کے وہاں پناہ لے لیا اور ان کے سپوں میں گھس گئے. ان کو تو یہ پتہ نہیں تھا کہ یہ کون لوگ آ گئے. پھر وہاں پر کمانڈر بنے. جب اسی معاشرے میں کہ وہ دعویٰ اسلام کا کرتا ہے، نفاذ اسلام کا کرتا ہے، وہاں پر چور اور لٹیرے کمانڈر بن جائے. ان لوگوں کو بھی پتہ نہیں تھا کہ یہ کون ہے، لیکن ان کو تو پتہ یہ تھا کہ یہ جہاد کی غرض سے آئے ہوئے ہمارے ساتھی بن گئے. تو پھر وہی तंजीम में रहते हुए लोगों को तंग करना शुरू किया। लोगों को पता चला कि जिस निज़ाम से हम तंग था तो उससे ज़्यादा ऐसे लोग आ गए हैं कि ये तो हम तंग कर रहे हैं पून पर पून। तो इसकी वजह से हालात तेज़ी से ख़राब ये हुआ कि कोई अगर इसी कपड़ों में आप आते थे ना, आप उनका साथी भी न होता, आपसे थोड़ा बड़ा बाल रख के और तो बड़ा दाढ़ी फट गई वगैरह, तो बाज़ार में फिरते तो लोग खूब इतना ज़्यादा था कि भाई ये तो तालिब है, और आप अपने आप को तालिब करते, अपने आप को वहाँ मंसूब करते फजलुल्लाह साहब के ग्रुप को, तो लोग डरते थे कि भाई इसका तो बड़ा क़ुव्वत है, ये हमारे पास आ जाएगा। आप जो भी चाहते लोग आपको देते थे। और 26 अप्रैल को मैंने आपको पहले भी जिक्र किया था कि जब हमने सूफी मोहम्मद साहब का तकरीर सुना, वहाँ पर हमने खोल के बात किया। लोग कहते थे कि आपको मारेंगे, एक मैंने कहा कि मारना अल्लाह के हाथ में। तीसरी बात ये था कि मैं खुद फजलुल्लाह साहब से मुखातिब हुए स्टेज पर, और वो तकरीर हमारा उधर नशर हो रहा था कि फजलुल्लाह साहब, अगर आप दीन के मुआफ़िज़े और आप खालिस अल्लाह की रज़ा के लिए आप निकले हुए हैं, आपके सपों में ऐसे लोग घुसे हुए हैं, अगर आपको पता है तो आप उस पर चश्मपूशी कर रहे हैं, तो इसका ज़िम्मेदार आप है। आपको पता नहीं तो उसका पता कर लें, उसको अपने सपों से निकालें।
जो हमारी तवक्कुत थी वो हमने नहीं पाई। नहीं, वो मैंने वाज़े अल्फाज में कहा था, हम कश्मीर की आज़ादी चाहते थे हिंदुस्तान से, वो नहीं पाया हमने, उसमें हम नाकाम रहे। मगर जहाँ तक वो दहशत गर्दी है, वो किसी हाल में भी जायज़ नहीं है। ये एक बहुत बड़ी वजह है, दो वजूहात हैं, उनमें एक बड़ी वजह ये है कि मैं कहता हूँ कि अस्करियत और मिलिटेंसी ये हमें अपने मंजिल की तरफ नहीं ले जाएगा।
पाकिस्तान गुज़श्ता एक दहाई से 10 साल से तकरीबन दहशतगर्दी और तशद्दुद के उस रास्ते के ऊपर चल रहा है जिसके इख्तिताम पर सिर्फ़ और सिर्फ तबाही है। उस हवाले से लोगों को बेदार करने की एक भरपूर कोशिश की। आप बैक वक्त मुसन्निफ़ भी थे, कालिम नवीस भी थे, और उसके साथ साथ आप एक ख़तीब भी थे। आपने अपने तकारीर के ज़रिए, अपने ख़तबा के ज़रिए लोगों की सोच को तब्दील करना शुरू किया। आपने इस मामले की वजाहत के लिए आपकी बढ़ती हुई काविशों और कोशिशों से ये तहरीक तालिबान पाकिस्तान बहुत खौफज़दा और बहुत इस हवाले से उन्हें ज़क पहुँची। जामिया नईमिया के सदर दफ्तर में प्रिंसिपल ऑफिस में जब आप तशरीफ़ फरमा थे, वहाँ पे एक खुदकुश हमला आवर ने आके अपने आप को,
तो मैं इधर से उठा हूँ। जब बातचीत हमारी कंप्लीट हुई है तो मैं ये ऊपर ये सीढ़ियाँ जा रही हैं ये वाली, यहाँ पहुँचा हूँ तो नीचे से ब्लास्ट हो गया। ऑफिस के अंदर बहुत ज़्यादा धुआं था, कुछ चीज़ नज़र नहीं आ रही थी। मैं और एक दो साथी हमारे और थे, हमने वो बड़ी मुश्किल से डॉक्टर साहब को ढूंढा, इधर से उठाया। उसके बाद बाहर मेन गेट पे लेके कुछ चीज़ नहीं मिल रही थी, जिसके बाद हमको उनको हॉस्पिटल में उनको मुंतकिल करें। जब उधर हम पहुंचे हैं तो डॉक्टर साहब ने कहा कि ये जो है ना वो डेड हो चुके हैं।
और नबी अलैहिस्सलाम दुनिया में इसीलिए आया है कि दुनिया में जितनी भी फसादें थे, जितनी भी बगावतें थी, जितनी भी अदावतें थी, जितना भी असद था, तो नबी अलैहिस्सलाम का आने का मकसद यही था कि ये अदावतें, ये बुग़्ज़ें और ये दिल में निफाक, ये दिल से निकाले। मुसलमान तो छोड़ो, गैरों के लिए भी दिल में निफाक न रखे।
ये काम जो हुआ है ये इसी वजह से हुआ है। डॉक्टर साहब ने खुदकुश जो हमले हैं उनके ख़िलाफ़ फतवा दिया था कि ये खुदकुश हमले जो हैं वो हराम हैं, जिसकी बिना पर उनको इंसाना बनाया गया।
कि कुरान में लिखा है अगर किसी ने एक इंसान मारा उसने सारी इंसानियत मारी। कुरान में इंसान लिखा है, वहाँ मुसलमान नहीं लिखा है। यानी अगर मुसलमान न भी हो हम उसको मारें, गोया हमने सारी इंसानियत मारी। मगर जहाँ तक वायलेंट एक्सट्रीमिज़म, उसका कोई फ़ायदा हो ही नहीं सकता है इब्तिदा में, वो गलत है।
आपकी शहादत के 2 घंटे के बाद और यहाँ के तलबा बाहर निकल के तोड़ फोड़ करना शुरू कर दी, और जो अपने आपे में नहीं थे, बेकाबू हो रहे थे शिद्दत गम की वजह से। मैंने उन तमाम को इकट्ठा किया और उन तमाम को मैंने उस वक्त एक लेक्चर दिया कि हमारा शेवा और तरीक़ा ये नहीं है और इस्लाम भी हमें इसकी तालीम नहीं देता है।
हमारे मुल्क का मसला ये है कि जहाँ बर्दाश्त करना चाहिए वहाँ हम अदम बर्दाश्त का मुजाहरा कर रहे हैं, और जहाँ हमें 100% अदम बर्दाश्त का मुजाहरा करना चाहिए, वहाँ हम बर्दाश्त ही बर्दाश्त कर रहे हैं।
Most madrasa students get a job as a imam of a mosque or as a teacher in madrasa. Basically, their job is to then repeat the same message to the other students in madrasa because they have become teachers, or imams to their communities that come to pray under them.
मेरे 3 बच्चे, 2 बेटियां और 1 बेटा, और मुझे पता है कि पाकिस्तानी माशरे का जो इज्तिमाई मुस्तकबिल है, तो उससे मेरे बच्चे अलग नहीं रह सकते। हमारे जो माशरे में तालीम नहीं है, तरबियत नहीं है, बेदारी नहीं है। ज़रूरी है कि एजुकेशन सिस्टम जो हमारा है उसकी ख़राबियाँ दूर की जाएँ, जो तालीमी निज़ाम है उसको दुरुस्त किया जाए।
मेरा नाम आयशा है। मैं सराय पाइन में पैदा हुई हूँ, विलेज में, और फिर आजकल मैं इस्लामिक यूनिवर्सिटी से रिलीजन फ़िलासफ़ी ऑफ रिलीजन कर रही हूँ। मुझे अच्छा नहीं लगा और मैं बिल्कुल इत्तेफाक नहीं करती हूँ अपने मुल्क के इस तालीमी निज़ाम से। ख़ुसूसन अगर मदरसों के बारे में कहा जाए तो मदरसों का सिस्टम वो बहुत महदूद होता है। वो डंडा इस्तेमाल करता है, प्यार का इस्तेमाल नहीं है। स्कूल का जो तर्ज़ है वो बहुत ज़्यादा एक कदीम तर्ज़ पर वो सब कुछ है।
In order to start a systemic rehabilitation system in Pakistan, there is a really good example. It's called Sawan School in Malakan. It's between Malakan and Sawat Valley, run by Dr. Faria Bracha, that rehabilitates suicide bombers, especially youth. They get their high school diploma, and also at the same time they learn a skill. My wish is that Pakistan and international community invest in that kind of a model in all of the districts of Pakistan.
I could say that there are at least a few thousand children out there who are vulnerable. Why should a child say yes, why not no to militancy? He would say no if he had the confidence that he can feed himself. He would say no if he could think that there is a future ahead, that he'll get a job, he'll finish his education. Unfortunately, this is not about religion. This is about politics and power.
A child in a madrasa feels partly abandoned by their parents. Children are really trapped in madrasa education. There are not too many kids that I've talked to more than half an hour that have not said if they had a choice, they would go to another school. I noticed a major disconnect between education and communications. Teachers and administrators in madrasa are so overwhelming, they do not allow the kids to speak. Children at least have to have some skills in communicating, answering simple questions.
क्योंकि मदरसे की फ़िज़ा ऐसी होती है कि वहाँ पर आपने सिर्फ हुक्म मानना ही होता है, वहाँ पर आपने अपनी कोई मर्ज़ी नहीं बतानी होती.
Critical thinking skills is a major issue in Pakistani madrasas and religious institutions because they get fixated without having these skills in a very indoctrinated ideas of what religion is, or every other person who thinks even a little bit different from them is very dangerous to their existence. So this threat perception is a major issue for these children. I interviewed, I think, probably a couple of hundred students and asked them questions. Do you think that Pakistan's future is bright or not bright? And it was an open-ended question. And the child would say, I think it's not bright. And I said, why would you say that? And he said, because it's not bright. And I said, well, when you say that, can you give me some reasons? What I found is that the kids got really frustrated. And in fact, the only thing that they could resort to when they got so frustrated, they could just get angry at me. Why are you asking these questions? What is your agenda? Are you trying to test me? I am not stupid. It was a very, very difficult exercise for them. One kid got so upset, he kind of lunged at me and said, why are you asking me these questions? You're just trying to find out our secrets. And I always said, why are you not answering this question? What is going on? It's like, because I don't want to make you upset, they said.
Unless you allow a child to read and understand what he's reading. In a book that is about humanism, that child isn't learning anything. So you can almost control by saying, this is written here and this is written there. The child doesn't understand. They would hold the Quran and say, it's written here that, oh, people of Sawat, you have to fight this army because this is an American army with Hindu soldiers. So they instilled in them such a dislike for the Pakistan army that it became easier naturally to fight them. Very few dared to question that Sawat did not exist at the time the Quran came into being, and those who did dare to ask didn't live long after that. And how do terrorists pick up children? There are those children in the village square who are not in school. Why is he not in school? Obviously, he doesn't, A, either doesn't fit, he has a conduct disorder, or he cannot afford to go to school, even though schools are free. If you go to school, you can't earn money for that one meal a day, right? You have to earn money to eat that one meal a day. So you will not be in mainstream education, and that's an easy pick because you entice a child. You say, okay, you want food, go get it. The child goes, gets it, and next day he says, okay, you want something else, you can go get something else. And the third day, he hops onto the SUV because life is better.
हाँ, लड़कियों को मार पड़ती थी इस वजह से कि उस्ताद अपने गुस्से पर कंट्रोल नहीं कर सकता है, उसके अंदर ज़ब्त नहीं होता है, उसके अंदर वो आला वो ज़र्फ़ नहीं होता जो एक उस्ताद के अंदर सब्र और बर्दाश्त का होना चाहिए, वो नहीं होता है, बिल्कुल ना होने के बराबर।
अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह ये पहले ये था कि हम तो एक रूह पर देता था, एक रूह पर देख रहा था, उसके आगे पीछे उसका पस पर्दा उसका बात तोलने का हमें न मौका मिलता था, न हम ये गवारा करते थे कि उसका बात तोले। चेंज तब्दीली उस वक्त से आई कि मैंने पहला वर्कशॉप अज़हर साहब की क़ियादत में, उसकी रहनुमाई में, उसकी लेक्चर में हमने वहाँ शमूलियत की।
क्योंकि एक होता है क्रिटिसिज्म, तनकीद, और या फीडबैक जिसे कहते हैं हम लोग कभी कभी एक दूसरे को फीडबैक देना, और दूसरा होता है क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग, है ना। क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग उस चीज़ों को तोड़ फोड़ कर सोचना। अल्लाह मियाँ ने तो तनकीदी सोच बचपन में बच्चे के अंदर डाली होती है, वो हमारा एक बहुत अच्छा माशाल्लाह से करतूत है बड़ों का, जो कि हम उसको ख़त्म कर देते हैं। पता है कैसे? एक ज़माना ऐसा आता है कि बच्चे की एक ऐसी उम्र होती है जिसमें वो हर चीज़ में पूछता है ये क्यों नहीं, ये क्यों, ये लाइट इतनी ब्राइट क्यों होती है, ये ग्रास इतनी ग्रीन क्यों होती है। डिपेंड ये करता है कि तनकीदी सोच को उभारना वहाँ से शुरू हो जाएगा। इसीलिए तो आपको बाप बनाया है। बल्कि बहुत ज़्यादा लोग डेफिनेशन जो इल्म की करते हैं वो यही कहते हैं कि एबिलिटी टू आस्क क्वेश्चंस।
ये तो हम जो सोचते हैं कि ये कि अमेरिका के एजेंडे के लिए काम कर रहा है यहूद, इसमें कितना अमेरिका के एजेंटी का किरदार इससे साबित हो रहा है, इस पर सोचें। ये तो दीन इस्लाम के लिए, मुसलमानों पर जो ब्लेम है, मुसलमानों पर जो दाग है, उनकी मिटाने के लिए। और ये तो मुसलमानों की क्रेडिट में ये बात जा रही है। आप लोग ये कहता है, ये करता है, जितने आप लोगों के ज़हन में है दहशतगर्दी के बारे में, इंतहा पसंदी के बारे में, सब इसके आप सब मुसलमान लोग ठहराते हैं। तो ये जब आपसे ये सुना ना, तो मेरे ज़हन में थोड़ा पराखदिली पैदा होगी।
क्योंकि वहाँ पर एक और चीज़ है कि लोग समझते हैं अमेरिका में कि ख़ास तौर पे हमारे जो मज़हबी लीडर हैं वो कहते हैं कि मुसलमानों पे बड़ी क़यामत है, वहाँ पर वो अपना इस्लाम प्रैक्टिस नहीं कर सकते।
उनको भी पता है कि उधर कुछ नहीं है,
उनको मालूम है,
उनको मालूम है, लेकिन अपने मफादात के वो जैसे यहाँ एमपी वाले के साथ कोई नारा नहीं था, पुख्तनख्वा था, वो ख़त्म हो गया। तो जितने लोगों ने मेरे साथ बात किया, उसके बाद बताया कि यार ये हमारा पासपोर्ट भी दे दो
ऐसी बात है।
तो ये है ना कि इन लोगों का ये आदत है इस
उसके बाद मौलवी को क्यों लगी हुई है ना.
He said, I always thought that United States has repressed Islam and there was no way the kids could be learning anything in United States about Islam.
वहाँ के जो मुसलमान हैं वो बेस्ट मुसलमान हैं, अपनी मुसलमानी पर कायम हैं, लेकिन कोई उसको तंग नहीं करता है. लेकिन यहाँ के हालात कुछ और है, काफ़ी डिफरेंस है. यहाँ पर कॉलेज में जो लोग पढ़ते हैं ना, तो वो मदरसे के लोगों को अकारत की निगाह से देखते हैं, और यहाँ पर मदरसे में जो लोग पढ़ता है ना, तो उनके लिए जो कॉलेज के जो लोग हैं ना, उनकी निगाह में वो भी कुछ नहीं है.
And he decided to build a whole school named after Al-Fateh Academy in Virginia and follow the similar model of that school.
इस मार्केट में हमने छोटा सा एक मकतबा खोला, वहाँ पर हमने हदीस की किताबें रखी. तो इस मार्केट में जब हम जाते थे तो इस मार्केट के लोगों को एक दूसरों को आंखें मारता था हमारे पीछे कि ये वो लोग ये जा रहा है.
नेपोलियन ने कहा था कि अगर मुझे एजुकेटेड माई दी जाए तो मैं आपको एजुकेटेड कौम दूंगा.
तो हमारे यहाँ कहते हैं कि माएँ जो है ये पहली मुअल्लिम होती है, फर्स्ट टीचर होती है. हमारे माशरे में एक ये मसला है कि माएँ जो होती हैं वो पढ़ी लिखी नहीं होती हैं, इसलिए वो अपना किरदार नहीं निभा पाती.
Compassion is what will teach them empathy, teaching them the values of humanism and being role models yourself. And compassion comes naturally. They're children.
ठीक है, अब जिस तरह हुआ, अलबत्ता अब मैं सही ज़िंदगी गुजारूं और खुदा ने जो ये ज़िंदगी दी इसको इस तरह गुजारूं जिससे इंसानियत की खिदमत हो. तो बस इस हद तक है, और ज़्यादा कोई मुझे महसूस नहीं होता है.
أول مرة شاركت بالحرب كان عمري 11 سنة.
بالحرب كان عمري 14 سنة.
بهالتجربة هيدي كان عمري 21 سنة.
كان عمري 16 سنة.
ستاشر سنة بلشت.
إنه يلا نروح على معسكر الفدائيين نتدرب. أنا ومجموعة أطفال بالسن 14 و15 و16 سنة.
أنا اسمي كوليت طنوس من مواليد بيروت.
أنا إلي نصرة أبي طايع من ضيعة جنوبية اسمها المعمرية.
أنا سعود كريم أبو شبل. المنطقة اللي كنت عايش فيها بالدكوانة كانت حد مخيم الفلسطينية تل الزعتر.
أنا اسمي هشام دبسي، والدي من عكا وإجوا لهون ب 48 بالنكبة.
أبونا نمر بولس.
أنا أردت بجبهة. طفولتي كانت كتير صعبة. عشت بوقت الحرب يعني. أهل ما كان عندي وأنا صرت لحالي. فتصور الموضوع يعني إنه ولد عمره 10 سنين بدون أهل.
فكان أول سؤال إنه شو يعني أنا لاجئ؟ ليش بيقولوا لي لاجئ؟ وليش إحنا ما عنا مثلاً علم؟ ليه ما عنا رئيس؟ كانت أسئلة بالطفولة يعني إنه نتعرف على ذاتنا من خلال الأطفال الآخرين.
I started thinking about fighting
in summer 73. There had been many incidents between the Lebanese army and Palestinians, mainly around Tel Za'atar camp.
يعني ب 13 نيسان 75 نهار أحد قاعدين بالبيت وإذ يعني بالأزايف ويعني المعارك تشتعل.
بوعة بالليل نيمين كنا على الأرض لأنه كنا الناس كلها فزعانة تخاف ما يصير في شيء على البيوت البعيدة. بوعة فلسطيني داس على صدري بيقول لي ما تقوم خليك محلك أحسن ما طخك. وشفتهم واقفين والدي على الحيط وإخواتي عم بخبطون ودفشوا فيهم. أساءوا لهم كثير، أساءوا لكراماتهم. أنا تاني يوم تركت الضيعة وجيت على بيروت. هيك إذا بدكم لأسترجع جزء من كرامتي اللي فقدتها فوق.
إنه يلا نروح على معسكر الفدائيين نتدرب، نحمل كلاشينات ونطخطخ. هيك كانت هيك القضية، يعني إنه أنا فلسطيني لازم أعمل هيك وإلا ما برجعش على فلسطين.
بلشت بال 76 وال 75 روح ودي أكل على المتريس يعني للشباب قبل ما يعني ما كنت قادر أحمل بارودة أقوس يعني. أهلي ما يعرفوا إنه أنا رايح يعني والأكيد إنه الأهل ما بيقبلوا يعني بهالموضوع هذا. فلمحني بيي أنا والشباب بس جيت على البيت إيه عنفني يعني أكيد بده يمنعني ومنعني إن الخروج من البيت. بس ثاني نهار نطيت ورحت.
فتت على القوات أنا أعطيتها مثل ما بنقول كل إمكانياتي. ما فت على القوات لأقضي على الآخر ولا لأقتل الآخر أنا ولا لحتى أحقق أنا مكاسب شخصية لإلي، وإنما بروحية الدفاع عن جماعة.
تعوا نفتح لكم أرض قد ما بدكم بكندا، بس إنه اتركوا لبنان. كان خيارنا نحن بأثناء إنه لا، نحن بدنا نضلنا هون ونحن رح ندافع عن أرضنا.
وتفجرت الحرب الداخلية، الحرب الأهلية في لبنان.
كان لازم دايما أمي دوام بالبناية. ضرب علينا RPG، عتمت الدنيا ودخنت البناية. خلص انت بتلتغي هون وبتبطل عمرك 14 بصير عمرك 50 سنة يمكن، لأنه عندك مسؤولية كبيرة بظهرك. أنا ونازلة يعني حسيت عمري يمكن عم بيقطع على سلو موشن. حس حدا عم يهجم علي ورح يقتلني أو حدا خطفني. سوري بدي خبرية مزبوطة. عملتها بتيابي.
My first victim, I made sure that it was not an innocent guy. I mean, I had checked and double-checked him. And this is how I decided that he was to go to death. And for some reasons that I don't want to talk about, I was the one to do it. I mean.
القذيفة فاتت من ميلة، من تاني ميلة في شباك ظهرت منه، ما فجرت بالغرفة اللي نحن نايمين فيها. لو فجرت القذيفة بهيدي الغرفة كنا نحن ال10 ميتين.
فهم عاجلونا بقذيفة هاون 60 صغيرة، وكان في حاجز رملي بسيط، فانفجرت القذيفة. أنا راسي فوق الحاجز، فاجت القذيفة هيك ضربت بهالشكل. والشاب اللي كان معي اسمه إبراهيم، كل هذا الجنب راح.
First serious time I went into to fight, I mean, it was in the hotels. At 6 o'clock, I see a taxi service stopping in the middle of the street, coming from nowhere, and he unloaded the people going to to work. I mean, this guy was carrying his sandwich, this lady was carrying her bag or something. I did not understand what was happening, and I did not know what to do. Should I shoot or not? He called our military center, and from there he got the news that
our group had signed a ceasefire, but they failed to inform us. So this is something I will never forget. It shows, I think, how easy it is to kill innocents.
سائق الدبابه ما كنت اعرف سوق سياره، لانه اساسا ما كان مسموح لي سوق سياره، بده يكون عمره 18 سنه. سواقه الدبابه كانت يعني متاحه اكثر بهديك الوقت.
لما تدربت عسكريا واطلقت النار اصبحت شخص عندي ثقه بحالي اكثر، واصبحت اشعر اني امتلك قوه الاخرين ما بيمتلكوها. انتقلت من اني خجول اذا حدا سالني انت منين اقول له انا فلسطيني، صرت انادي الواحد اقول له تعال انا فلسطيني شو بدك.
تربينا قلت لك بعائله مسيحيه، انا مش مقوص عصفور بحياتي، بس صرت انا افكر انه انا كيف قوصت ناس وهول اكيد عندهم اولاد واكيد عندهم نسوان، بس بعدين بقول طب هو جايين لهون من الصومال ومن باكستان ومن ليبيا ومن العراق، طيب شو جايين يعملوا بارضنا هون؟ شو لهم عنا هون؟ صرت لاقي لكل شغله تبرير وتفسير، شوي شوي بعدين بس تفوت بالحرب بتصير جزء منها، ما بقاش فيك تطلعي منها.
I was afraid from my enemies. Then I hated them because they were traitors for Lebanon. Then I started hating them more when my friends, comrades fell. Fear, hatred, more hatred when comrades start falling, then revenge, then nothing. You become a killing machine.
في أكثر من محل جرحت في إصابات بالغة في رأسي وفي صدري، وكان لازم أموت ونجوت بالصدفة بالأعجوبة بكذا. يعني أصلا وجودك في الحرب هو احتمال موت حتى لو لم تصاب.
نخسر بناية ناخذ بناية، نخسر شارع ناخذ شارع. بإحدى المعارك اللي صارت بعين رماني نحن خسرنا بناية من البنايات، رجعنا حررناها بالتعبير العسكري. بهيدي البناية لما طلعنا عم نتفقد البناية بعد فيها شيء، طلع في فلسطيني موجود. لما اتصدمت انا وياه بوجه بعضنا قال لي ما تقتلني، انا وحيد عند اهلي، انا بعيش اولادي بعيش امي. صدقي قديش ما تتصور شو هالشعور بتحسي فيه. بس صار يقول لي بس جاب سيره امه صرت احس انه انا نفس وضع، انه انا صار لي شيء شو بتعمل امي. وعدته انه ما راح اقتله، اخذت منه سلاحاته واخذت منه كل اغراضه، نزلته على البنايه على الدرج وقطعته الطريق، ولما قطع صار يكبر ويقول الله اكبر.
العلم والوعي هو أساس مهم لحتى الإنسان إذا غلط يرجع عن غلطه. بعتبر إنه ربنا كان بعد بده إياني، بده إياني لهلأ. بس خلصت الحرب رافقها شعور بهيك بضياع، لأنه الهدف اللي نحن قد ما فينا حاولنا نعمله حسيته صار فوق الغيم. حاولت اني اظهر من الموضوع، لانه هيدا اكيد كاس مر بعدني انا لحد هلا بحس بمرارته. يعني هيدي اجا بدك من الاشياء اللي انا ندمان عليها اكثر ما بتتصوري، لانه دفعنا ثمن غالي وما بعرف اذا لحد هلا بعدنا عم ندفعه. فإذا بالمدرسة نتعلم العلوم، ولكن إلى جانب هالمعلومات هيدي لازم نتثقف إنسانيا، بمعنى إنه نقدر نحن كمجتمع نتعايش مع بعضنا بسلام، لأنه نحن بوطننا مأخوذ عنا إنه نحن عاطفيين، منجر وراء رؤسائنا بشكل يمكن مرات لا واعي. لهالسبب نحن مدعوين اليوم، وخصوصي بهالمدرسة اللي فيها من كل الطوائف ومن كل الفئات، إنه نحن نتعود نعيش مع بعضنا بسلام، ونأكد هذا الشيء لكل العالم إنه نحن قادرين نحترم بعضنا، نتفهم بعضنا، نتقبل بعضنا، وبالتالي نكمل مع بعضنا ونبني هالوطن بشكل سليم وصادق وصحيح، كل واحد حسب ما بيكون عنده إمكانات. نحن وقعنا بالغلط ومرقنا بفترة فيها حرب طويلة دفعتنا ثمن غالي، مش لازم نسمح لأولادنا يرجعوا يمرقوا بذات الطريق ويدفعوا ذات الثمن.
في إشكالات اللي صارت جديدة بلبنان حرب 7 أيار، بس إنه ما نزلت يعني على الطريق، لأن كيف صارت بسموها مثل قلة عقل، اللي بيتعصب لشيء. أنا مش من هالنوع، ما بحب أتعصب لطائفة أو لشيء.
الحرب على كل الأصعدة كانت مأساة لكل الشباب. بالبداية أول شيء بتعرفي كم شاب من رفقاتك بتخسريهم؟ يعني كل ما نروح على المعركة اعتبري نروح 40 واحد نرجع مثلا 38. قليل ما نرجع مثلا مش ناقصين، قليل يعني كل يوم عنا دفن، كل يوم بدك تدفني حدا من رفقاتك، كل يوم بدك تعلق صور على الحيطان لرفقاتك، وأمتين جاي دورك ما بتعرفي. ولما تفوتي على بيت أهل الشهيد هونيك بتحسي بمعاناة أكثر وأكثر ما تشوفي أمه عم تقول لك مثلا ولو أخذتوه من هون شاب بعز دين شبابه جايبينه محمل، بتحسي إنه أنت كأنك مزن بما قدرتي حافظتي عليه أو ما قدرتي تواكبيه ليضل حي معك. برمت ورحت باتجاه إنسان عادي مسالم، بيصلي كل يوم فرض الصلاة تبعوله، بيهتم بأمور الناس إذا بدك منبوذين متروكين مرزولين بمجتمعنا. شيء ببكي. مشان هيك قررت أنا وجروب من الشباب من رفاقي، أخذنا قرار، عملنا جمعية اسمها أرض وإنسان. ما تتصوري شو لذة العطاء أكثر من الأخذ. وقت يجي واحد يقول لك مثلا أنا عندي مشكلة، تصوري مثلا عائلة ما عندهم قدرة يتحكموا، الأم من عمر 50 سنة عملت عمى من وراء السكري، تعويض تكفير مطهر إذا بدك إياه سميها. بتحسي حالك موجودة، بتحسي حالك إنه أنت الشخص له معنى، له حياته معنى.
الحرب ثمنه غالي جدا. اللي عم نعمله اليوم هو صعب أكثر من حمل السلاح، ولكن نتائجه أفضل بكتير. المجتمع تبعنا انصاب كتير بالقيم تبعيته، بأخلاقه، بالمبادئ تبعيته. فكان الهاجس إنه نحن نحاول نساهم بإنه نرمم هالشي هيدا. وتوجهنا بصورة خاصة للمرأة، لأنه هي ركن أساسي بالمجتمع. المطعم هو لتغذية الجمعية، يعني أكيد ما بيقدر يغذيها 100%، ولكن نحن بنقول إنه حجرة بتسند خابية. وصلنا بنتيجة 11 سنة لأنه شفنا أنه الباب مسكر إنه قدام الحل العسكري، ولقينا أنه وكبينا سلاحاتنا وشفنا بخلاصة هالتجربة أنه نروح على العمل الاجتماعي ممكن يكون مفيدين أكثر للمجتمع تبعنا.
Well, I met some relatives. I went to see them, in fact. It's not easy because you can say, I'm sorry. This is something I did, publicly and even on an individual basis. Sometimes I do it. I go and visit people or I meet people or life brings us together, But sorry won't bring him back. You don't know how to react, really. It's very, very, very tough and very difficult. But one thing you can do, try to help the community in general. Your community, his community, the Lebanese community. This is the only thing that you can do 20 years later, or 30 years later.
يعني الحرب فرقت بين الإخوة، فرقت بين الأهل، فرقت بين الجيران، قتلوا بعض هون. فهيدي أمور البلد اتدمر. يعني أكثر شيء بيأسف الواحد إنه بلده اللي هو كان أجمل بلد بالعالم اتدمر نتيجة حرب. سنة 90 خلصت الحرب، يعني كان عمري 15 سنة. أنا بسن مراهقة، عايش جو حرب جو أحزاب، فلا قادر أتأقلم مع الناس، كانت كتير صعب علي. لو كان عندي أهل أو إخوة بهيدا الوقت أكيد ما كنت خليت حدا منهم يروح على الحرب.
شو كنت ردة فعلي؟ إنه ابني يروح على بيروت على الحرب، عرفت كيف؟ وما بعرف عنه شيء، ويجي شباب، هالشباب الحلوين مقتلين لهون، نصير نبكي نحن عليهم، وصير أقول أنا يا ترى ابني بده يجي هيك، ابني ميت لشوفه ولا بدي ما أشوفه.
أنا ما حاربت. ليش ما حاربت؟ لأني أنا زلمة واعي وبعرف نتائج الحروب. كنا نقول له إنه هاي الحرب بتخرب البلد وبتأخر العالم وما منها أي نتيجة يعني إلا الويلات والدمار والشغلات اللي ما بيريدها رب العالمين. يعني الله ما بيريد هيك، يعني قتل النفس حرام.
يعني أنا الحرب، بسبب الحرب عشت لأب ولأم. بسبب الحرب يعني انحرمت. أنا مثلا عيط لبي يا بابا، ما كان في حدا عيط له يا بابا مثلا، أو لأمي يا ماما، أو بي مثلا يربطني أحس إنه أنا في حدا أسند حولي علي وأنا ولد.
الحرب نزعته نهائيا لراتب. صار شرس، صار بده يقاتل العالم على الطريق، يتعدى على غيره، يعني صار شرس كثير يعني راتب.
طيب روح على الحرب وقتلوا لا سمح الله، جابوا لي مي، بكره اولاد ابني التانيين بدهم يكبروا بصيروا يشرحوا لي بدهم يا ست كيف قتلوا، ليش راح على الحرب؟ انت عندك ولد بتشوفي حالك فيه مثلا بيعمل اسره، بيعمل بيت، بيسوي اولاد، بضل حدك فرق ما تبعتيه على الحرب يقتل بالحرب، شو عمل يعني؟ قتل غيره ومات وقتل غيره.
إذا في حدا شخص بعمره 11 سنة بيسمعني هلا، عم بقول له كون واعي وما تنجرف ورا المناظر اللي بتغري، يعني وكون قد المسؤولية وحس بحالك، حس بقيمتك.
After war had ended, I mean, we noticed that we had been crazy. I mean, what has happened? Why was he attacking me? Why was I attacking him? Everything seems so futile. I mean, when you go to downtown and you sit and drink and eat, and he is a Muslim, I am a Christian, and we were killing each other for every square meter in this area. What for?
كلمة للشباب بقول انه يقعدوا مع بعضهم يتحاوروا، ما يوصلوا اللي احنا، ما يعيشوا اللي احنا عشناه من مآسي الحرب، ما يعيشوا الرعب اللي عشناه، ما يعيشوا القلق اللي عشناه، ما يكون عندهم خوف من بكره كل يوم.
الخسارات كثيرة اللي صارت بحياتي أنا، تخسر الماضي، تخسر الحاضر، وتخسر مستقبلك.
إذا رجعت عمري 11 سنة أكيد ما راح شارك بالحرب.
نفر أبدا، ما بعتقد أنا ممكن أرجع حارب.
اللجوء للحرب هو عملية انتحار.
ما بتحصد من الحرب إلا الخسارة.
كلنا ضحايا بالحرب، كلنا ضحايا.
I was recently on a TV show where the host had on the stage a coffin and a jail cell, as if to say, don't you see the decision you made will either end in the coffin or a jail cell? And I told him, well, they know this better than you do. They don't lack information, they just don't care whether this decision will lead to a jail cell or a death. I'm wondering if part of the climate for the young people that you're describing isn't the same. Maybe they can't imagine a future.
I was just actually talking to a boy, 14 and a half years old. He was caught with a suicide belt. He wanted to blow himself up. And we were interviewing him. And I said, why would you want to do that? He looked at it straight in my eyes and he said, why don't you go talk to my parents? I'm a 14-year-old kid. And what he was trying to tell me, I think, is like just a lot of stereotypes that he heard from his family, I think, and some of the teachers basically saying, not to trust these people. They are there to destroy us. And what he translated in his head, this kid, is that I have to do something about it in order to gain my dignity back. Because that's how he keeps saying, it's not dignified to live a life like this when other people are oppressing you.
What's going on over there and what's going on here, you can't compare that. They're not
Emotions,
fighting
dog.
gangs.
It's not about gangs. It's about the emotions. They're not just doing that because I want to blow myself up. Just like we're angry for things that happened to us when we were young, they're also angry, dog.
When you're saying that sometimes you feel angry and want to pack a gun, it would have been easier at one point before you joined Homeboys to do that. Why is it hard now to do that?
I might end up shooting somebody and I might end up going to jail for life, and that's not what I want. You know what I mean? I have a kid, and I don't want to be in prison the rest of my life for him to go visit me in prison. I don't want that.
What can they do? And what is absolutely needed for these children not becoming violent?
Lots of love.
Lots of love?
Attention and love, yeah, and always pay attention to when your kid's asking you something or talking to you. Because I liked that a lot when I was growing up. I didn't have no kind of love or attention. I thought I did, but I didn't. So, because I've been through domestic violence, so I always knew how to hit. I just had a baby 5 months ago, and like all the love that I didn't show my other kids, I showed this my baby. Yeah.
You're talking to that child?
Oh, I talk to him every morning when he wakes up. I tell him good morning, and he laughs like, hey.
They do respond, right? They do respond to our attention, yeah.
Parents could only give what they got, you know, and what they've gotten. My baby right now, he's 3 months, and his first words, not daddy or mommy, it's I love you, because I think that me and his mom, we tell him we love him so much every single day. And, you know, he tries to say it already, like he kind of screams it a little bit and stuff, you know. But he smiles and he laughs when we tell him I love you and we kiss him. He just gets all excited, you know, and that's what I want to provide that, you know. And I think teaching them that will teach them everything else in life.
God could care less about us announcing that he's a compassionate God. God's just waiting for us to be compassionate.
Who is this person?
This is Lorenzo Smith right here. He was 22 years old. He was just killed Sunday morning. Him and his friend and their girlfriends went out to a nice club in Hollywood. Some rival gang members was up there, and they spotted the tattoo on his eye, which is identification of a certain Crip neighborhood. And he tried to leave. They followed him out there to the parking lot, shot him. He died on the spot. Shot his friend, who was still in critical condition right now.
They had all of these tattoos. And he's like, you know, I had 300 other gang members who had the same tattoos, and we knew that we were looking after each other. And I said, from who? Who are you looking after? But from our enemies. Who might that be? The other warriors. Are those people like have ever threatened you, or what did they do? And he didn't have an answer for that. He goes, no, but they were just our enemies. So like creation of an enemy narrative is really important for violent extremism, I thought. They shot him because he belonged to a certain neighborhood or a certain gang?
Certain neighborhood, certain gang, yeah.
There's no other reason?
There's no other reasons. When a gang member see you, and if it's the wrong tattoo, wrong neighborhood, then it's a death sentence. It doesn't make sense.
Did he receive some rehabilitation here?
Yeah, he got all the programs, doing the programs. Matter of fact, got promoted upstairs, and he's working in the county office, and so he's doing really well, really well.
What we have found is people who are really are extremists or violent extremists who have conducted quite a bit of these activities themselves, engage them respectfully with dignity and a sense of compassion where they feel that there is actually support system. There was a significant number of people not only denounced militancy and violent extremism, they in fact started to speak against it.
I sit next to G. I have the best mentor ever. You know, his father G. I'm learning from him. I'm really learning about love. He gives us this certain unconditional love, and we're passing it on to others.
The love is passed from Father G down to Hector, down to Kyle, down to us, and then the newer guys that come in. You know what I mean? Because we didn't know how to love when we're out there. It's all violence, gangs, drugs. Might be from different neighborhoods, but it's almost basically all the same.
And you have kids now?
A little 19-month-old, I have a little girl. You know, I take her to the park. She sees the little black kid. I try to tell my daughter, you know, play with her, you know, and show her that it's okay to talk to another child because despite of the color of their skin. You know, growing up, I couldn't hang out with him because he was black. If you weren't Mexican, if you were white or you were black, my dad did not let us talk to you.
And there's a lot of support here.
A lot of support, you know what I mean? A lot of people want to see you do good, you know what I mean? And they want to see everybody grow. They want to see everybody grow and get a career and get a life and you know, have a life beyond your wildest dreams.
And it all trickles down from love and support we've got from Father G.
What I noticed about homeboys rehabilitated gangbangers, there was this sense of space that they have to protect their barrios, and that's why they became so violent, that they need to have this identity with their space. They were saying that, well, that's all I had. I had to create a rationale for myself that this neighborhood is the neighborhood I have to protect. That gave me meaning. It's almost like boundaries of the country, but you know, just in small neighborhoods.
I dreamed of changing Lebanon. But I had to change myself somewhere. And I had to listen to what God had to tell me. Because I have been a Christian, and I thought that I was fighting in the name of Christians and fighting for Christianity. But Christ came and told us about one major thing only. I mean, love. Love each other, not kill each other. I had done the opposite in the name of my faith.
Do I have any regrets? Everything that I did.
باللي أثر فيي بالحرب هي نتائجها هالحجم الآلام اللي احتوته هالشباب اللي ماتت هالعيال وهالأطفال يعني هيدي مأساة إذا أنا بدي أرجع هيك حدا يعرضها قدامي يعني مثل ما بيقولوا تدمي القلب.
The most I regret about joining the gang was the people that were hurt behind it, including myself and my own family.
هؤلاء الأشخاص اللي بيروحوا بيعملوا عمليات انتحارية وبيحاربوا باسم الدين، هؤلاء أشخاص في خلل بعقلهم، لأنه ما في شيء بالدين اسمه روح حط حزام ناسف وروح انتحر وقتل العالم معك. الله ما قال شيء روحوا قتلوا بعضكم. الله نزلنا على الأرض لحتى نعيش بسلام وبمحبة، بس هؤلاء الأشخاص في خلل براسهم.
ما في دين سماوي بيآمن بالله بيطلب الناس تقتل بعضها أو تعتدي على بعضها أو تتعدى على بعضها أو تقتل بعضها أو تهجر بعضها. هذا كله تستر بالدين.
तो ये इस्लाम में नहीं है, ये कौन सी इस्लाम है कि ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह वालों का सर तने से जुदा हो जाए.
You know, the God who loves without measure and without regret, the spacious God. That's the God we have. But we're endlessly creating God in our own image, which is to say tiny.
وهالجماعة المتعصبين واللي باسم الدين بيصيروا يقتلوا ما بعرف الدين اللي بيدعي للقتل ما مش مبرر.
If I had to go back and change and stop myself from doing some of the things I did, yeah, I would definitely go back and stop myself.
इस वक्त ये कार्रवाइयाँ हो रही हैं ये बज़ाहिर अल्लाह के नाम पे या اللہ کی رضا کے لیے ہیں، لیکن در حقیقت ایسا نہیں.
الناس اللي بتحارب باسم الدين هن جماعة بيستغلوا الدين، بيستغلوا نقطة ضعف يعني عند الناس. لازم الواحد يعرف يوقف بوجه منه، ما يوقع فيها.
اسلام میں اور دوسرے مذاہب کے ماننے والوں میں ایک روش ہے، اس کو کہتے ہیں تصوف اور عرفان. تو اس کے جو بڑے بڑے صوفیہ گزرے ہیں میں ان سے بہت متاثر ہوں. تو ان کا یہ ہے کہ انسانوں سے اور انسانوں کے علاوہ جو خدا کی اور مخلوق ہے ان سے پیار کرو. بس میں یہی چاہتا ہوں، پیار کرو، پیار کرو اور پیار کرو. یہ میرا پیغام ہے. ٹھیک ہے، آپ پسند ہے آپ کو یہ پیغام؟